Welcome back, everyone. Well, as many of you know, here on this channel, I pride myself on sticking to history and not talking about current events or current politics. And I made an exception to that yesterday because it seemed like it was just something we needed to talk about, especially where the parallels to past history were concerned. What I did not expect was this. This video that I put up yesterday, talking just 5 minutes, just talking about my observations and my thoughts on the Russian invasion of Ukraine, just went nuts. A really good video for me gets 10 to 12,000 views in the first day. This one got over 80,000 views in the first day, which tells me this is something that matters to you guys. It matters to the world. It matters to our subscribers because it was mostly driven by our subscribers who were watching it. On average, maybe 3% of you click on a video when it goes live. This one was getting 20%. It was just crazy. So I'm not going to make a habit of this. It's not going to happen every single day like this. But I want to kind of pick up where I left off yesterday and talk a little bit about one of the most remarkable parallels that I see between the past and the present, but also something that's very unique about this particular conflict as it relates to history, because this is history. This is history unfolding in front of our eyes on a daily basis. It's something that 100 years from now, when we're all gone, our great-grandchildren are going to be talking about in the history books. And so it does matter. And because I have a history channel, I want to talk about this. So one of the remarkable things about this conflict is the nature in which we are getting information, the nature in which it's unfolding. And I don't just mean the traditional news reports, because that kind of stuff is happening, and that kind of stuff happened in the past. I'll give you a great example of that. When D-Day happened, June 6, 1944, within a couple of hours, there were reports in the United States of what was happening. It was pretty quick turnaround compared to the past. It wasn't days. It wasn't a slow drip of information. It was happening almost in real time, and most of the information was coming in the United States as a result of broadcasts in Germany, because the Allies weren't talking about it, but the Germans were. The Germans were reporting about the invasion, and those reports were getting picked up by local broadcasts and by national broadcasts here in the States and in other places. Here's a perfect example of that.
This is Robert St. John in the NBC newsroom in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, we may be approaching a fateful hour. All night long, bulletins have been pouring in from Berlin claiming that D-Day is here, claiming that the invasion of Western Europe has begun. Let me read you several of the latest bulletins. One says that a report, unconfirmed by Allied sources, of course, says that heavy fighting is taking place between the Germans and invasion forces on the Normandy Peninsula, about 31 miles southwest of Le Havre. Another bulletin, also from Berlin Radio and unconfirmed, says that British-American landing operations against the western coast of Europe from the sea and from the air are stretching over the entire area between Cherbourg and Le Havre, a distance of about 60 miles. I repeat, there is no confirmation. And here's another bulletin just in. DNB, the German agency, says, this is unconfirmed, that the most important aerodromes in the area of the Normandy Peninsula of France have been wiped out. Now, I presume that means wiped out by the Allies. As you may have heard on earlier broadcasts, all three German news agencies have begun broadcasting these stories that the invasion is here. But there is no Allied confirmation as yet.
So that's just one example, and there's some remarkable resources available on YouTube where you can actually hear hour by hour as it unfolds, as the news reports are coming in. And you can see that for a lot of events. But this one's a little different because unlike in the past where you had news sources like NBC or CBS or the BBC reporting these things as they came in, you have people on the ground with social media sharing things. And a lot of what we're seeing is coming directly from them, but also some of it's coming directly from the government. A great example of this, and I'll warn you in advance, there's a little bit of language, even though it's not in English. A great example is what happened on Snake Island, which is a place I had never heard of until now. But there were these dozen or so Ukrainian soldiers on this place called Snake Island. And one of them actually recorded video and was live streaming on social media at the moment they were attacked. And so you see this Russian, I think it's a destroyer, in his video going past, and they're speaking to the defenders saying, listen, surrender and we won't fire on you. And then there's another video that went live of the recording inside the base there, where the people actually hear the response and they say, should we go tell him to F himself? And then he actually says it to the Russian warship, go F yourself. And then very soon after, they were attacked and killed.
Москва. 200 метров. Ракетный катер. Россия. Вот так вот мы тут и живем, блядь, на острове Змеином.
Я русский корабль, повторяю. Предлагаю сложить оружие, сдаться, иначе по вам будет нанесен удар. Как поняли меня? Прием.
Ну все. Нахуй тоже надо.
Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.
And we know that the Ukrainian president has announced that they're all going to receive the title of Heroes of Ukraine. And, so that kind of stuff's happening. We have video of a tank running over a civilian vehicle as it happened real time. We have a video that somebody shot out their window of missiles being fired really close to a civilian home. And all of this stuff is happening because people on the ground have their cell phones, and they're taking those phones and they're uploading stuff to social media. And so we are getting real-time access to this stuff that's happening. The going back to World War II, while these radio reports were coming in, the first time people really saw anything of what was happening was sometimes much, much later, even months later, when they would go to the movie theater and there would be these newsreels that would play before or after a movie. And you would see some of the highlights of what was happening. Remember, this is not a time when everybody had a television in their home. Certainly no social media or anything like that. So this is a very different piece of history that we're seeing unfold before our eyes. Another thing that we're seeing from all of this is the different ways in which it's being presented depending on where you are. Yesterday on the video, I had some people in Russia. In Russia, we love you. And I will say this up front. I should have said it yesterday. We know that what a government does not necessarily represent its people. And that's certainly true here. I think by and large, the people of Russia do not support what's happening. And many of them were brave enough to go out and say so in a place where they could be arrested just for speaking out against the government. So that tells you a lot. So I know we have a lot of Russian viewers on this channel, and it's not always the case that what you're being told by your government and what you're hearing is necessarily the truth. And so we have to sift all of that information. And that's one of the remarkable things about access to the internet and social media is often we can get information from other sides. So we have to take everything with a grain of salt. Perfect example is yesterday there was video going around purporting to be a video of a Russian plane being shot down. It was from the game Arma 3. And everybody was sharing it and saying it was a Russian plane being shot down. It wasn't. But that's the danger side of social media, is that stuff gets shared and everybody assumes it's true and they reshare it, and pretty soon millions of people have seen it and assumed it's true, and it's not. But social media also gives us access to the truth that otherwise we might not have. A great example of something that I don't think has been confirmed one way or another, but would be really cool if it is there's this story of the ghost of Kiev. And I should say too that I know that all my life we've called it Kiev, K-I-E-V, but K-Y-I-V is how it's spelled in Ukraine, and seems like everybody's pronouncing it Kiev all of a sudden, so I don't know which is right, but I always kind of said it one way. But they're saying there's this fighter pilot who, in a MiG-29, has shot down 6 Russians in one day, which would make him an ace in a day, the first ace in Europe in like 60 years. Is it true? I don't know. But it surely makes for some great propaganda, and those are the kinds of things that the Ukrainian government is going to want to have people hear. It's much like what happened with the Russians at Stalingrad, getting word out about Vasily Zaitsev, this sniper who was taking out all these German officers. giving people something to cheer about, giving them hope, giving them a reason to believe that they can hold out and they can win. And so is it true? I don't know. But it makes for good TV. It makes for good inspiration. Seeing the mayor of Kiev in full body armor on the streets with an AK-47 ready to defend his city makes for good TV. It makes for good inspiration and inspires the people on the ground. So those things have happened all throughout history. And I'm sure we're going to see a whole lot more of that as time goes on. But I just thought I'd share a little bit more of my thoughts, seeing some of the parallels, but also some of the things that are unique about this historical event that is unfolding before our eyes. I would encourage everybody to write down your thoughts. These videos are a way for me to do that. They're almost like a video diary that I've invited you to be a part of. If you want me to keep doing this, I'm going to get back to historical content, okay? We're going to start doing historical content again tomorrow. But if you want me to keep doing this kind of thing, please let me know in the comment section below. Please hit that like button. Every time you click on a new video on this channel, you help this channel to grow. So I appreciate that in advance. We'll get back to the historic content tomorrow, but I can keep doing these parallel to that if you want to see more from it. Thanks for watching.